Welcome to Basic Black. Some of you are joining us on our broadcast, and others of you are joining us on our digital platforms. I'm Callie Crossley, host of Under the Radar 89.7. Tonight, food, culture, and Black history. Food is the foundation of culture in African American communities. Enslaved Africans brought seeds and spices from the mother country. While in bondage, they took the food scraps given to them and created complex meals that were much more than the sum of their parts. Today, those dishes, which reflect the history and traditions of both African American and African culture, are staples in Black and American cuisine. Two local chefs join us tonight with dishes from their restaurants. One, traditional soul food, and another, a modern take on food from the global diaspora. Joining us this evening, Paula Austin, Assistant Professor of History and African American and Black Diaspora Studies, Boston University. Anthony Tony Brooks, chef and owner of the Coast Café in Cambridge, and Kwasi Kwaa, chef and partner of Comfort Kitchen in Dorchester. I want to welcome you all to the program.
Thank you.
And in a few minutes, we'll be back to you, Kwasi, so we'll see you in just a bit. So, Tony.
Yes, ma'am.
First, let me say that it's, this is exciting to be having this kind of conversation about food and African American history as we close out Black History Months. It's perfect.
Right, perfect.
And
yes.
so, tell us what you've brought for us.
I brought our traditional mac and cheese. Mm-hmm. We make it at the shop. Well, let me show you how we make it here.
Okay, great. Now, as you're setting up, let me just say that one of the things that Paula, you know about is that even something that as traditional as mac and cheese, which is seriously, something that Black folks recognize as part of their cuisine, can have differences in regions.
Exactly, yes.
Tell us about
Definitely.
that.
Well, I think this is true for all of those dishes that we think about as kind of staple Black dishes, including ones that reach across not just the U.S., but across the Black diaspora, that they all have regional differences and sometimes don't exist in some regions in particular ways. And I think that is one of the really kind of special things about Black diaspora foodways is that there are these kind of threads that run through them in terms of maybe food preparation, a type of food preparation, or a specific ingredient, or a kind of type of ingredient, or a list of ingredients that can be kind of interchangeable, but that there's a relationship between the regions, and people recognize particular foods, even if it is not the food of their home Black culture.
Right. Now, you two may know that when the National Museum, the Smithsonian's National Museum of African and African American Culture and History in Washington opened what we call the Blacksonian, there was a big fight because in the cafeteria, what was African American cuisine had regional differences. Mm-hmm. And so people were fighting over, that's not my sweet potato pie.
Yeah.
And so now if you go, they're very identified in the cafe. It says regional, here's the Midwest, here's the South. So you can see some of the similar foods, but the regional differences as Paula has made. All right, so now let's talk about your story. Coast Café was founded in 1997, and then went on to 1999. You came back because you and your dad and your family had opened that, but your dad got sick, and so then you put off reopening until much later. Yeah,
2004, my dad got renal cancer, passed away eventually, and then I reopened. My sister it was me and my sister at one point. Then she didn't want to do it, so I reopened it, did a business plan, reopened it, and we've been there about 18 years ever since.
All right, and I know because I am a regular customer, full disclosure.
There we go.
I've been there many times. All right, now you're from Mississippi.
Yes.
So here we have, you live in New England, but you brought the Mississippi to this mac and cheese. What makes it the Mississippi kind?
I think the layers. People don't layer anymore. Mm-hmm. We do like a noodle, elbow macaroni, and then we do our cheese and maybe a few different types of cheese as well, not just the cheddar. A lot of people just do cheddar, and a little milk, a little egg, and it comes out nice and creamy, and a little breadcrumb on top. And that's our little traditional
my dad is
old
from
school mac and
Mississippi.
cheese.
That's right, and as far as I'm concerned, that is the correct way to do mac and cheese.
Me too.
Let me
That's
insult
how I
some
grew up.
other people, but it's not in the pan with some sauce on it. No. It's very, very central to African American cuisine, though.
That's how I grew up. My mother put it in a bowl actually at one point. We would layer it, put our butter and cheese, and that's the way we grew up. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna watch you dip some of this up because we want to taste it.
Yes,
while
yes.
we're talking to you.
So first thing you want to do is you have your pan. You want to you can add a little butter, or we do a little Pam on it. And then we add our noodles. We add our noodles. You want to do about, maybe for each layer, it's about a pound of macaroni. Put a little salt in your water, give it a little, I always want to salt every level, so it gives it that extra bang. And then we add our American cheese. I put some on already. We do about 15 slices per layer. Okay. And then we add our grated cheese. This is, can't tell you all my secrets, but
Yeah.
no, this is Jack cheese and cheddar cheese.
Okay.
Make sure you spread out everything nice and evenly so it melts down.
Now, as you're doing that, COVID was tough for a lot of restaurants, but particularly tough for Black restaurants.
Yes.
Was it hard for you guys?
It really was, yes. But thank God we were a takeout as well, so we didn't have to deal with the many seating problems that a lot of people had. And we kind of stayed open most of the time.
And you had a big clientele. I mean, still do.
We did.
Was that able to help you? I mean, in other words, you didn't have to start from scratch during that period of time. You already had some built-in customers.
We did. We did. But it kind of changed the customer base as COVID went along. We lost some people, gained some new people.
Had to reduce the kind of the extensiveness of your menu. I know.
We did.
Yeah.
Supply chains was, we couldn't find things.
Right.
That was a problem. So
staff shortages, all of that, which continue today.
Yes.
All right. Well, you finish that up with the egg. I see that.
Scramble our egg. Add a little milk. We add about 1.5 cups of milk per layer. All right. Give that a good shake. Okay.
And all of this is going to bake.
It is going to bake.
And it's going to be, what I like is the end pieces are real crusty on the end. They're really good.
Man, isn't that the best?
Same.
The corners.
That's
We call them the corners, yes.
Also the same.
Now,
yes.
what a lot of people may not know, Paula, because we've been talking about regional differences and, how Black folks come together in communities, and from those communities, which is what you study, how folks live together, these recipes get handed down. But what folks may not know, that the coming to America of macaroni and cheese was brought over by a Black man. In 1784, Thomas Jefferson, as you know, one of our presidents, not Black, he had enslaved James Hemings. James Hemings was born in Virginia. He wanted him to increase his knowledge as a chef, so he took him to France. While there, Hemings saw some of the cheese and the pasta, put that together, brought it back to America. It was called macaroni pie at that point. And then there you have it.
Which proves that it should be baked.
Yes,
Exactly.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Just saying.
That's right. But James Hemings brought macaroni and cheese from his work with Thomas Jefferson. All right, so that'd be all ready now.
Yep, we added the Parmesan, a little butter, cover it, goes in the oven.
Now, why are you old school soul food? Why do you consider yourself old school?
Because the way we were taught, my mom taught us detail. We taught us the way everyone did it before, layering. Yes. And you can always add a little breadcrumbs as well. Give it a little more flavor. We add seasoned breadcrumbs to this.
So I just want to pick up on what you said about your mom taught you. You got that. Comes from Mississippi, where your grandmother was, and great cooks all in the family. Back to you, Paula. What you've said that I find really fascinating is that the passing of these recipes happening in these communities is what ended up with these dishes becoming somewhat changed or not, but also a staple.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and your example of Hemings, I mean, I think one of the really important things about Black foodways is the way in which it is a combination of so many different cultures and cuisines, including ingredients that were not necessarily West African ingredients. So I think this is one of the things, I mean, I think to your point about the debate that happens in the restaurant, this is one of the things that I think is so important for us to know and remember, that Black foodways is not monolithic, that there are so many different things that come together to make the particular dishes or to make those particular preparations that are, you know, West African, indigenous.
Indigenous is really important.
Really important. You know, European. So really, the kind of things that we know now really come together as a result of forced migration, colonization, access to indigenous ingredients, and also preparation techniques. So all of those things are, you know, make the thing that we think about as Black food, but it's so diverse.
But underneath that, Tony, what you have expressed in terms of what your family cooks and then how you pass the recipes along is communal, which is very African.
Very,
So that really, that whole sense of community and communal living, if you will, really influenced how this all comes together in the end, which I will now taste and enjoy. I mean, how much do you sell in the restaurant? I know it's a lot.
Mac and cheese is our #1 seller.
Oh my God.
Even more than your fried chicken? This is really good.
Well, yeah, as a side. As a side. It's the #1.
Oh, this is so
fried
good.
chicken's #1 for entree. Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
What do people say they love about it?
Just, I guess, the creaminess. The creaminess. You know, it's not flipped in the pan. It's, you know, it gives a little more creaminess. I think it kind of melts down a little better, and you kind of get that little how can I say it? The softness to it,
Right,
the
right.
butter, and so yeah, I think it's the creaminess.
Those different kinds of cheeses, the sliced, the shredded,
Parmesan.
the Parmesan,
Yes, we
no,
have a
right.
little Parmesan. Yep. So
So-
then you could be creative and add a few more different cheeses, you know, whatever you prefer. So it's good.
This will always be on the menu. I know you have other things that are on your menu that are very traditionally soul food, like your fried chicken and some other things.
Candied yams.
And candied yams that are delicious. All of that is good.
Yep.
I personally like that fried catfish, but you
There
know,
we go.
that's that southern Tennessee
to
in me. Are you feeling pretty stable now going forward? I know there's been some but you feel good?
We're battling,
Okay.
you know, staffing issues,
All right.
supply issues, things like that.
Does it help that, you know, a lot more attention being played to Black-owned restaurants?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Very
I
good.
like the thing they have in Boston where we're recommending people to kind of visit.
Exactly.
At
Brought
least, I
new
think,
customers.
4 different restaurants per month, Black-owned restaurants, and that's helping us a lot.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Tony, for this
Thank you.
deliciousness. We have
Thank you.
truly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know, I need to come
Thank you.
by.
Yes, you do.
We'll see you back later in the
All
program.
right. Thank you.
So welcome back, Kwasi Kwaa, chef and partner in Comfort Kitchen in Dorchester. Black-owned, women-owned, and immigrant.
Yeah.
And let us know what that means, really.
So, you know, our whole concept is very much tracking ingredients from not just the African diaspora, but the spice trade from South Asia, you know, and the intersections of where that food and that those ingredients married based on those trades, whether it be human trade or, you know, the spice trade. And we have a very diverse team. You know, my business partner, Bipla, is from Nepal. Our spouses are partners in the business as well. My wife's from Portugal, and his partner is from the U.S. And her background traces back to the Congo. So we're always exploring different types of food, different types of ingredients, and how they've ended up in not just the U.S., but different parts of the world. And, you know, it's something that's special to us, and we're very adamant, you know, for a very long time. I feel like not just Black food, but, you know, Black and brown immigrant food in general has not received the respect that it's been so long overdue deserved.
Right.
So we're always trying to highlight and, you know, celebrate those ingredients.
And Paula, Comfort Kitchen is a part of a new wave of, just as Kwasi has described, of restaurants that are Black-owned but have several influences. And that brought me to the research that you've done about even back in the day when we think all of the food that was being made by Black folks in those communities, as we've discussed, was all the same.
Right.
It was all traditional soul
Right,
food, but
right,
actually
right.
it wasn't. And much of it, as you say, was prescribed by limitations of how folks could move around, class, which is interesting. So talk a little bit about that.
I mean, one of the things I was thinking about, and it's sort of personal for me as a Guyanese immigrant, is the way in which the thing we think about as traditional soul food really comes into our lexicon and our understanding, sort of in the Black Power era, and it's a moment of a kind of huge cultural, explosion of Black culture and the relationship between Black cultural sort of artifacts and traditions and identity. And so it's incredibly important, but it did become this very narrow way of thinking what is Black food, what is traditional soul food. And so that's why I think certainly when I'm in the classroom, it's important for students to understand this kind of inter-ethnic, cross-cultural mixing that's happening in the cuisine, certainly, but also in culture. And so, I mean, there are preparations that I think are West African, although even those preparations and some of those ingredients are West African sort of during colonization. And so some of the things, like corn, like maize, for example, is grown in West Africa in the 16th century, but and it's an indigenous, an American indigenous crop. So it makes sense that there is this kind of relatively new emergence of these kind of other Black cuisines.
But it's always been there.
But it's always been there.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, Kwasi, I know you're about to prepare something for us, and as you begin to do that, I'll continue to talk to Paula again.
Sure.
So what do you have for us?
So what we're doing here, on one of our menus, we wanted to celebrate the jerk marinade, which originally was a preservation method for the Maroon tribes in Jamaica. And we based a lot of dishes on it, but this particular, it's just a simple slider sandwich, but the focus is on the jerk and trying to celebrate the jerk. And folks have had jerk chicken and everything else, but we wanted to create a vegetarian dish that could still celebrate the jerk for folks that maybe have never had jerk. I personally love jerk, so I was very excited about it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Now you have to sell it here. We're with you.
It's a slider that we make with coriander aioli, and I love this conversation because it's true that a lot of times when we think about Black food, we focus on soul food, which is great in itself. But there's so much intersectionality that's happening between cultures and all this stuff. And we always try to put those on our dishes. So this sandwich is really, we have a marsala aioli, coriander aioli that we do kind of dress the sandwich with, and then we have jerk jackfruit that we marinate the jackfruit for 24 hours and more, and then we sear it, and then we warm it and put it on the sandwich with some pickled onions and some arugula.
And by the way, aioli is a fancy mayonnaise for people
It's
who
a fancy
don't
mayonnaise. It's just a fancy mayonnaise.
Which brings me to back to you, Paula, about back in the day, 1825. In fact, this gentleman started a restaurant, an oyster restaurant. So again, we are talking about folks doing other kinds of cuisine that's not typically thought of,
It's true.
And his clientele, most of them were white.
And
tell me about
elite
him.
white. So that you're talking about Thomas Downing,
Yes.
probably in New York City in 5 Points.
Yes.
And he actually was the son of enslaved parents who were from the Chesapeake Bay, where basically, oystering made sense. And New York actually had a large Black male population of oystermen. There was a whole organization in Staten Island, actually. But yes, Thomas Downing opens up this oyster place. He's got predominantly white elite clientele. He had a lot of friends in high places. He becomes relatively wealthy as a result of that restaurant, and he is part of a number of anti-slavery and abolitionist organizations in the early 19th century in New York. Something that's akin to the Vigilance Committee that was in Boston.
So this Black history is so rich, and the spectrum is broad, deep and broad as we talk about it. Maybe some overlap in some areas, but you know, you'll get a surprise like Chef is making there. By the way, maybe I can trick you into telling me what you're doing for the Food Network, because I know you're doing something that you won't talk about.
I cannot actually.
Oh, that was too.
That's exciting.
But that says to me that there is recognition about this food now. And also, Chef, you're also attending to a trend, and more than a trend maybe at this point, which is people leaning toward plant-based foods. Yeah, so
Yes,
that's very
very much
important.
so.
Yeah.
And you know, when we look at a lot of times when we look at Black food, folks, you know, chitlins, and it's like, no, there's so much more complex stuff that's happening there, and I think folks are ready to learn more. You know, one of the things that we do when we develop our menus, our major focus is not about the dish itself. It's more about the history of the ingredients.
Okay.
So on our menus, we have a whole page dedicated to food history.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, so we, I don't know if you're familiar with High on the Hog. That's one of my favorite
Jessica
books.
Harris, come on
Oh
now.
my goodness.
Yes.
It's literally
Yes.
one of my
Yes.
favorite books.
Yes.
And one of the things that I tell folks is that our menus are meant to reflect the storyline of that book.
Right.
Specifically.
And if people don't know, it was made into a series, I think,
on
HBO.
was it Netflix or HBO?
Netflix, yes. Jessica Harris is, we like to call her a little bit local because she lives on the vineyard in the summer. So she's very well known food historian.
Yeah.
Now, back to those spices that were traveling around as in the what you call the spice trade.
Yes.
People should also know from author Howard French, whose book is Born in Blackness, that trade was driven less by spices and more by transatlantic, the African slave trade. And so because they were looking for gold, and then they decided that Africans were gold, human gold in a different way.
Right.
But that's where you got a lot of mixing as well. And people need to remember that when they were grabbing Africans off the continent, they came from different places. So again, there was another mix and another layer, Paula, of difference in terms of what agriculturally they grew in their individual countries.
And it's true that the history of Black foodways is, that there is a lot of sort of denial of food, chronic malnutrition and hunger, especially in enslaved communities, but also in free Black communities. But there's also a lot of creativity and ingenuity given what people had at hand. And it's interesting, right? And it's interesting that there's this movement to plant-based, because so many West African dishes and historical African American dishes are vegetable-based, and meat was really used as kind of a flavoring.
Exactly.
And I think meat was also not always an available option.
I'm taking a bite.
Yes,
Can we take
please
mine?
do.
Okay, great.
Very yummy. I love onions too.
Yeah.
And anything mayo, so this is really good. Delicious. Yeah. How do people respond? Because you get vegetarians already, I'm sure, thrilled, but people who are not vegetarians,
people who are not vegetarian actually gravitate toward that a lot. It's a different preparation method for a fruit that generally is served on a sweet side, or when it's treated in a savory spectrum.
It's spicy. I love it. Yeah.
The jerk marinade.
I know. I love it.
We have 7 different spices and orange juice that goes into that jerk marinade.
I can eat anything spicy.
Delicious.
Isn't it delicious? Yeah, very good. So I'm sure you'll be getting that. So when I said I call this a modern take, because you can do some traditional diasporic dishes, but you can also move in this direction as well. So this is something familiar to people, sliders, that kind of casual food, but it's bringing the history that maybe the folks didn't know.
Yeah.
You two were affected by COVID. You were going to open in 2020, didn't? And still are, getting your sea legs, but you've only been open a little over a month, but things are
not even a month.
Yeah,
this will be our 4th week.
Okay, so how are you doing though?
Good. We've been fortunate to have been able to build a bit of a following during the pandemic through our pop-ups and our residency in JP. But, you know, we've been just plugging away, you know, like Tony said before, you know, the general challenges, you know, staffing and
all of that,
shortages, we still,
but you're hanging in there.
we're hanging in there,
Okay.
we're making it work.
All right. Well, before we go, let's bring Tony back because we want to have you both here because this was a great trip around the world, if you will,
I love it.
for Black cuisine and just perfect for Black History Month. And I want to remind everybody that DoorDash initiated identifying Black restaurants. So if folk order delivery, there is that as well. And that's a good reason there's another way for folks can find you. And I hope that works out for everybody. But anyway, this was great.
No, yummy.
Nothing bad about talking
Nope.
about Black history and eating it on
That's
a plate.
right.
So thank you, everyone. That's the end of our broadcast and the end of our show.
you.
Thank you for joining us. Good night. And now stay with us as we continue our conversation on our digital platforms, YouTube and Facebook. I'm Callie Crossley, host of Under the Radar 89.7. We are on YouTube and Facebook with our post show continuing our discussion on food, culture, and Black history. And we're continuing to eat the samples brought by Tony and Kwasi. So this is great. Paula, I want you to just continue a little bit about class and the factor that how class factored in actually to how certain Black restaurants certainly were developed.
Yeah, I mean and I think that's the story about class differences really is one that goes back even during the institution of slavery. I mean, there were free Black communities in the South as well as in the North and Northeast, New England. But it really depended on what you had access to, what kind of business you were in, and that informed what your dinner table, your breakfast table could look like. But there are lots of Black people, Savannah, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, who go into business as cooks, as chefs, or working in restaurants. I mean, one of the things I learned in my research was that there were some like 400 Black candy makers in Savannah in the early 19th century.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And actually, most of them were Black women.
Wow.
And apparently at some point the Savannah City Council tried to make them get licenses or badges because the concern was that not enough of them were available to do domestic work because they were all making candy and selling them, on the street essentially. But yeah, I mean, food was a big Black business. Different kinds of foods we wouldn't even think about, like candy.
Yeah, I never would have thought of candy. Did you all know that? I had not a clue. Yeah,
not a clue.
No. Do you think that there's more receptivity to Black cuisine, traditional, that's been there the whole time that maybe folks didn't know about, and immigrant for the first time coming to the fore because the palate has changed in general for Americans and in Boston for sure? Do you think that with the palate now, most people are trying different cuisines in general, and let me say, thank Jesus, they are more acclimated to spice. Because when I first got here and people say, oh, this is really spicy, and I'd say, where is the spice? I don't taste anything.
Yeah.
So do you think that's had some kind of impact on your clientele and and the receptivity to your restaurants?
Yes. Yes.
You know, I think in the food industry in general, American food industry in general, there's been a shift in paradigm where, you know, when I started cooking 14 years ago, the focus was Italian and French food. I cooked more French food before I cooked food from my own country. That's like a sad story to be like a
And
professional.
you're from Ghana, to
I'm
be
from
clear.
Ghana, yes. And that's a sad story that I always revisit where, you know, I always thought like, all right, what else can we do here, right? And I think in past years, and with the help of, you know, television, you know, food shows and things like that, people have broadened their horizon in terms of what they can try and what, you know, folks have become more adventurous eaters, if you would. And I think with that shift, it's allowed folks to really try. So, some of the best foods are not found in, you know, the fanciest restaurants, you know.
Right.
And that's where I think the conversation starters are happening. And I think people are just getting to a point where they want to try some new stuff. You can only have so much pasta.
What do you
mean?
think, Tony?
I think the same thing. People are trying us. We're small and little, but we're getting great amount of clientele from different aspects, different walks
Yeah, you
of
said it
life.
has changed since COVID.
It
too.
has,
In
it
what
really-
way? Tell me more.
I think people, like you said, the internet's expanding us out. People are looking for more home cooking,
Home
you
cooking,
know,
yes.
instead of the traditional corporate kind of thing. And so people are looking at, they're reaching out. They're reaching out further, and they're looking for not just the big restaurants as well as the smaller ones like us that are, you know, but we're cooking from our heart. They're looking for that artist
Yes.
instead
Right,
of just the
right.
cook.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, you know, and that's what I look at as an art to me, not just cooking. Like I tell my employees, the food is my main focus. The money's down the line. I know we gotta kind of survive, but that's the key. I really kind of gotta make sure that art is really staying 100%.
Now, you may be able to answer this question, Tony, better than Kwasi, because your restaurant hasn't been open as long. But do people come into your restaurant, say, like, I'm coming for fried chicken, and then get in there and say, oh, well, I might try this or this,
They
and
do.
then come back? Yeah.
They do. And also other customers that are in there, and they know that they're a new customer, they'll say, hey, listen, you can't go wrong with anything on the menu. Try everything. And we get a lot of that too as well. So yeah, the variety and I always said I want everything to really taste good. I don't want to just be a staple of just
One
fried.
thing,
Anything I did in there, I want to make sure that we maximize. Like you said, I'm a big seasoning guy, and I love to create something that we season like our noodles are seasoned, you know,
Absolutely.
cheese, and everything has to have that point of seasoning where it maximizes everything.
Well, and I would say the same. You're young yet in terms of operation, but are you already seeing that? Because I can imagine people being a little bit timid. Maybe I'll have this because I know this, but now that I'm in here, maybe I'll try something else.
Yeah, no, it's very much, I know you mentioned earlier, okra is your favorite.
Oh my God! I could leap over the table.
When we're putting together menus, we usually say, okay, we're going to put this on the plate, but how can we get somebody that absolutely hates this to love this? And that's like, folks are coming and it's like, okra, I hate okra. And I'll usually just be like, try it. If you don't like it, it's on me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And they'll try it. And, oh my God. And it's the same with the sandwich. It was just like, folks were just like, jackfruit, I don't know. And it's like, just try it.
Yeah.
And folks have been much more open to just trying things, you know?
Kwasi, don't you think that people don't have, because they have such a block against some things, they've heard it before. They may not even have tasted it before, but something like an okra, they just figure like they know it's not going to be good.
And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
most people associate okra with sliminess,
Right,
and, you know, and it's
right,
embedded
right.
in their
Right.
brain.
And I always say,
Whereas
you
it's
haven't had it
like,
cooked
you
right.
haven't if you don't like it, it hasn't been cooked right
I
for
heard
you.
that.
You know what I
I've
mean?
heard that
And
before as well, yeah.
it's same thing we have an eggplant dish
Yeah.
that there's folks that are just like, eggplant, that sounds terrible. It's like, just try it. You know what I mean?
But I think at the same time that we had that kind of cultural moment where soul food kind of gets this, you know, big identity, there's also been a long history of sort of, black stereotypes and disparaging ways of presenting things that we think about as black food. And so some of that, like, I don't want to eat that, is related to kind of a long history of having those foods associated with negative stereotypes and black caricatures. I mean, certainly for me as an immigrant, there were definitely foods we ate at home all the time that, I pretended like I had no idea what those things were.
Like what, Paula?
But now, now I eat plantains every single day. I don't know. I mean, okra for one. My mother made that all the time, but I don't even know if I ate it as I was growing up. Cook up rice, rice and peas. I mean, but these are all things that now I will cook for myself. I mean, I probably eat fried plantains every single day.
Yeah. We got that.
With different kinds of aioli, actually.
Right.
And some sriracha. So I think that there is that long history too of being made to kind of separate ourselves from foods that we might have grown up with because of the ways that they were portrayed negatively in the media.
Let me ask you this sensitive question, because in the open of this show, and this is true, staples now in both black cuisine and American cuisine come from black folk communities.
Right.
And a number of people feel some kind of way about it because you didn't get credit. Nobody's getting credit about where the origins were. It's like, oh, this is a brand new dish. Well, actually, no.
Right.
So I'd love you two to respond to that. How do you feel about that?
Go ahead, Kwasi.
I think for me, my food journey started with when I moved here. I missed food from home, so I was always trying to find food that reminded me of home, and that took me to like Brazilian food, Cape Verdean food, Haitian food, a lot of different cuisines, and the neighborhood I lived in was very diverse. And I think the not getting credit aspect, it's based on who was looking, because that food has always been around. Like I would go to a small family Haitian restaurant first before say, okay, let's go to this fancy, you know what I mean? So the food was always there. So I don't think the not getting credit is just based on who was looking. And the industry as itself was just very much overshadowed by other, basically majority European and Nordic food for a very long time.
Gotcha.
And so now that the lens is shifting, I think we just have to celebrate what we want to celebrate. You know what I mean? And I think we can push it to be the normal. It's unfortunate that it wasn't for a very long time.
That's right.
But we absolutely, and I tell folks all the time, it's like, if we're going to be gatekeepers, we're just going to be beacons for the food that we love and we celebrate.
That's a good way of putting it. How you feel, Tony?
I feel like, like you said, the credit, I'm not worried too much about the credit. It's more of getting us out there, letting people know where it came from.
Come to the source as opposed to go get the imitation.
Exactly, exactly. So I think it's a help, it's a blessing to kind of direct them to us, because eventually they're going to find out that the artist is the real artist is the one that, you'll taste it in the food. So yeah, I think it's a benefit in such a way.
Shout out to Tony Tipton Martin, who's done a lot in terms of raising up those connections, those historic connections where black cuisine comes from, those communities, the history that you've talked about, Paula, is very important. Thank God she won a James Beard Award, so more people would be aware of all of that. So there is information now, so you can't act like you don't know.
Right.
Jubilee is on the top of my shelf.
Exactly, mine too as well. All right, I want to close out this way. What do you all typically eat?
Ooh. That's tough.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna be honest with you. My diet consists of tangerines.
Oh, come on!
I'm not kidding. You know what it is? It's like you're on the go so much. I have tangerines in my bag right now.
Okay. All right. Well, when you cook or when you go eat, or
when I cook, roast chicken.
Okay.
Like whole roasted chicken. And it's for I love making stock. And I buy whole roasted chicken just to make stock. But also it's just my wife and I, so it'll feed us for a good week.
Yeah.
So roast chicken is definitely my go-to.
Okay. Tony?
I guess we could tell the difference between us because he's modern, I'm old school traditional, but I'm a steak and potatoes guy.
Okay.
Nice.
Hands down.
Okay.
Good piece of steak.
What's your favorite cut?
New York strip.
Okay.
That's my favorite, honestly.
Okay.
New York strip.
All right.
Yep.
All right, Paula.
I mean, plantains.
Okay.
That's almost every day there is a fried plantain somewhere on my plate.
Okay. All right. And you can find them much easier than it used to be.
That's
back
right.
in the day.
That's right.
All right.
That is true.
Well, it's been a joy to celebrate Black History Month this way, and so tasty too. Thank you all
Thank you.
for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.